Welcome to Sculpted Thoughts, the podcast where we explore philosophy, art, and the spaces where the two intersect. And I'm your host, Yuying Zhao. In this podcast, we're asking a deceptively simple question. What does it mean to live mindfully, and how has sculpture helped us do that through the ages? Mindfulness today is a buzzword. It's in meditation apps, wellness workshops, and even corporate productivity seminars. But if you look back, way back, we'll find a very different understanding of mindfulness in the works of ancient Greek philosophers such as Epictetus and Aristotle. They didn't talk about mindfulness in terms of silence and serenity. Instead, they saw it as a practice of ethical awareness, rational discipline, and active engagement with the world. But with the way that capitalism is driving society today, things that mindfulness typically resides in, such as sculptures, may eventually become devoid of meaning. For Epictetus, mindfulness meant not being at the mercy of our emotions. He believed that we should focus on what we can control, our thoughts and actions, and accept what we can't. In his words, the wise person doesn't react impulsively, but acts with clarity and purpose. Aristotle, meanwhile, told us that the key to a happy life isn't just inner calm, but living virtuously. In his Nicomachean Ethics, he wrote, "A life of virtuous activity will be essentially a happy life." For him, to live mindfully is to live morally, contributing to the well-being of others, not just tending to your own. So, here's the catch. Mindfulness, according to these philosophers, isn't just a private internal state, it's a public ethical way of being. And here's where it gets interesting. For thousands of years, that kind of mindful living has been reflected in sculpture. Take, for example, the Code of Hammurabi, a towering stone stele etched with one of the world's oldest legal codes. Enacted in 1754 BCE, it laid down laws for fairness, responsibility, and justice. It warned people, in stone, that their actions mattered. That's mindfulness in a sculpture. Externalizing a moral compass publicly and permanently. It demanded composure, fairness, and accountability, principles that make both Epictetus and Aristotle nod in approval. And it didn't stop there. Jump to 3rd century BCE India, and we find the pillars of Ashoka. These stone columns weren't just decorative, they were declarations. Ethical messages carved in native tongues by Emperor Ashoka after his conversion to Buddhism. They encouraged values like honesty, compassion, and self-restraint. They weren't locked in a temple, they stood tall in public, open to all, teaching leaders and citizens alike how to live wisely and mindfully. Just like Aristotle would have hoped, they guided society toward flourishing, and just like Epictetus taught, they invited self-discipline and reflection. But what about today? In our capitalist-driven culture, where art is often priced more than it's pondered, the bond between sculpture and mindfulness seems to be fraying. Take Damien Hirst for the love of God. A diamond-encrusted skull worth millions. Yes, it's bold. Yes, it grabs attention. But does it call us to reflect, to act ethically, to connect to something larger than ourselves? Or is it more about spectacle and sales? This shift matters, because for centuries, sculptures weren't just art. They were ethical anchors, holding society steady, asking us to pause, think, and live better. Without that kind of mindful art, our cultural footprint starts to fade. We lose shared symbols, shared values, shared spaces for affection, but it doesn't have to be that way. If artists, communities, and viewers return to the frameworks of thinkers like Aristotle and Epictetus, art can become mindful again. Sculptures can reclaim their places as moral landmarks in our public life. So, next time you walk by a sculpture, pause, ask, does this make me reflect? Does it make me better? Does it contribute to our shared story, not just as a piece of art, but as a reminder of how to live? Because in a noisy, distracted world, the most powerful thing a sculpture can do is make us mindful again. That's it for today's episode of Sculpted Thoughts. If this moved you, inspired you, or gave you something to think about, share it. Keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, stay looking up.